There we go. Hey everybody, it's Kathy. I just got a message it couldn't connect and then it connected me. So, hi, welcome to episode 29 of Mondays on the Mat. Even though it is this fine Tuesday afternoon, I'm coming to you live from my office/yoga room with my co-host Agnes, who wants attention right now. And if I stop, she kind of gets all up in my face. Yeah, so she's right off camera, but I may be gesticulating with my left hand only today while we give her some love and attention. So, today's question comes from Debbie, and the way she phrased it, it happened in class, was, why is it all of a sudden I can do this? And what she was referring to is going from downward facing dog and stepping one foot forward in between her hands. And I wanted to answer her so bad in class, but I knew that this answer and conversation was really important for all of us to have and hear, and so I held on to it so I could talk to you guys about it live. So if you have questions or comments or you want even more clarity as we get into this topic today, please remember to shoot them down here in the comments. Even if you're watching this video later, you can still ask questions or comments and I'll come back in and answer and continue the conversation with you. So this question, why is it now all of a sudden I can step one foot forward from downward facing dog in between my hands? Super important, is because it applies to all of us in different ways. So that may not be something that you all of a sudden were able to do, but maybe it was all of a sudden you could touch your toes, or all of a sudden you were able to do all these different arm balances or a handstand or something that you had never been able to do before. And I really wanted to dispel the myth that what happened was all of the sudden. And the super fast answer that I have for Debbie and for everyone, with a little bit of personalization, is this. The reason why, Debbie, all of the sudden you could step your foot forward is actually because you've been showing up and doing yoga for 5 years. And so that is actually not all of a sudden. That's actually 5 years of showing up to class on a regular and consistent basis and doing things at home on your own that caused progress to manifest in your body in a way that you could register and recognize. But that isn't to say that for the last 5 years, nothing has been happening. So let's break down this example of the transition from down dog to one foot forward. It's a great example too, because that transition sets us up in a yoga class for all kinds of different postures. So if we break that movement down, starting from downward facing dog, at the feet, through the legs, and up to the hands. Let's look at all the different things that one transition requires. Let's say, for example, we're going to step the right foot forward in between the hands. That means the left leg needs to be really strong in the quadriceps and the outer hip to keep the leg and the pelvis stable as the right leg moves forward. The placing of the right foot in between the hand requires flexibility in the right hip and gluteal area, so that it can get all the way up there. It requires strength in the right frontal hip flexor to pull the knee deep up to the chest. It also requires strong front core, which is partially responsible for the moving of the leg or the thigh closer to the chest in the middle of the transition. Then we've got the hands and arms. As the weight comes forward, the arms need to be strong and sturdy to support the weight of the moving body. And then lastly, it's the right foot that's coming forward. The way I like to teach that transition is that the right hand, there you go, the right hand sort of peels up onto the fingertips as the foot places in between the hands. So there's also a little bit of the strength of lifting up onto the hand in a coordinated movement. So not only are all of these pieces of strength and flexibility required, there's also the neural pathways of the coordination of the movement to make it happen in this sort of seamless and fluid way. So there's a lot of pieces. and they don't progress it like all together. So it's not like the leg got stronger and the hip got more flexible and the core got stronger and all of that happened at the same time in a neat, even line. It could have been that the hip got more flexible first and then the arm strength developed and then the leg strength in the back leg. And so each of those component parts are developing at their own rate in relationship to how often you're practicing yoga, how like the style of yoga that's being practiced, the poses that are being done at any given time. So there's all of these moving parts that contribute to the progress or the external manifestation where all of a sudden we can see or feel the progress that's being made in the body, even though what's happening is that little by little, step by step, that which grows slowly endures. And so I saw this really cool interview with Brene Brown about a week ago, and I really resonated with one of the things she said is that we're sort of living in this time right now where we want everything to be fast, fun, and easy. And the fact of the matter is that this type of like sudden progress that I just said there's actually no such thing is because it isn't generally fast, sometimes isn't fun, and it is definitely not always easy to show up and keep doing the practice and doing the work and doing the yoga and not necessarily, having that outward experience. And it makes me think of that Zen saying, chop wood, carry water. So much of yoga is showing up and just doing the work because it needs to get done and focusing more. This has sort of been a theme the last couple of weeks. Focusing more on what you feel on the inside than how it looks on the outside. And so one thing I know about Debbie and why this was a great question for me to answer is because she has been a regular and consistent student for the last 5 years, and she has really developed an enduring practice that is so strongly focused on the internal experience rather than the external manifestations. And she has a really great ability to be non-attached to the results. And so it's that combination of every day and every time you show up to yoga, you focus on the internal feeling and you aren't so attached to what's going to happen. And at some point in time, those sudden moments of progress show up. But again, they're not sudden. That progress was 5 years in the making. And things like that can continue to unfold. Like what's going to happen in the next 5 years? What's going to happen in the next 10 or 20 years? And one of the things I want to throw in as an aside, especially if you're newer to yoga, or you're someone who's tried yoga and you're like, that yoga stuff doesn't work. I've seen this often, is where someone will come and try yoga for maybe a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and either they won't get that immediate sudden result and decide that yoga doesn't work and give up on it, or they'll start to feel better, whether that's physically, mentally, or emotionally. And so they'll quit because they figure they're done, but then they like sort of backtrack into not feeling so good. And so then they show up again and almost like they had to go back, maybe not to zero, but maybe like step one or, phase feeling one. I don't know how to describe that, but then, and then they start to do yoga again and they start to feel better. So they quit. And then again, it's like this backtracking. And so that type of in and out, there's going to be progress, but it's going to be even slower. And so again, it's like, well, it wasn't fast, fun, and easy. It didn't get instant results, and so I'm out. And also, let's not get caught up in our amazingly wonderful, aesthetically pleasing social media world and like the gorgeous pictures that we can see on Instagram, because whatever picture you're seeing, I guarantee you, not a single person on the planet burst forth from the womb able to do these very incredibly beautiful or impressive aesthetic photographs, all of those people have to chop wood, carry water, show up, do the work, hit the studio, hit the mat, do their practice. Even if that beautiful picture is, in front of a sunset on the beach. And I love those pictures, don't get me wrong, they're beautiful. But that person still has to go and get hot and sweaty and work hard and put in the effort to get those results. So, hopefully, that was a long-winded answer of you didn't do it all of a sudden. You showed up and did the work. And you showed up and you did the work and you weren't attached to the results. And that is why it felt like all of a sudden, but it wasn't. So Debbie and everyone else who's watching, please know that there's no such thing as sudden progress. Progress in yoga comes from showing up and doing the work, who and how and as you are each and every single time you step on your mat. So that's my answer to your question. No such thing as sudden progress. So you should be really proud and feel really great that you have been more internally focused, and that sometimes, like you just recently experienced, you'll see external manifestations, but that the real prize and the real goal is all of that juicy stuff you're feeling on the inside, your increased vitality, the fact that you're calmer or more productive, or you're just stronger and more able to go through your days without running out of gas, or whatever the internal results are. Those are far more valuable and far more meaningful than that step forward. And even so, that step forward is also to be celebrated, because it is an indicator that you're showing up and doing the work. So, good job, sister. This week, in our group classes, we'll continue to focus on posture, but I can definitely feel the season wanting to shift from summer to fall and into what is known as the Vata season in Ayurveda, and that transition can be a little bit ungrounding for us. So we'll definitely still be focusing on posture with a slight more emphasis on getting and staying grounded in the transition. This week we've got classes on Tuesday, 6:30 to 8, Wednesday 5:30 to 7, Friday 9:30 to 11, and Saturday 9 to 10:30. I look forward to seeing you in class, and remember, if you have any questions or comments, to shoot them over to me here or on YouTube or Facebook or live in class, and I will answer you on an upcoming episode of Mondays on the Mat. Thanks for tuning in on a Tuesday, everybody, and I will see you next week. Have a great that was so retarded. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for watching. Namaste.